Leigh, Angus, thank you guys for talking to me about the Mule. Really enjoyed the movie last night.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for being there. Very exciting.
I really enjoyed the Q&A afterwards. I'm wondering if you guys are okay right now to do this?
No, yeah, I mean, I'm fine.
You're fine? After the push-ups? I
did sustain some damage. Who's your friend? Oh, no, sorry. I'm not.
What happened at the Q&A?
Do you not remember?
We didn't do it. We didn't do it.
Was there a Q&A?
It was good. I'm seeing a lot of tweets online that it was like the greatest Q&A ever.
I threw it up there. You got to tweet for me about it. But so getting to the Mule, did you guys meet on Insidious? Was that something that you started a partnership there, or does this go back way farther?
It actually goes back way farther. Angus and I have been friends for close to 20 years. We met on a TV show in Australia. It was in the mid-90s. It was called Recovery. You could almost describe it as like maybe the Dave Letterman show for teenagers. It was like they had bands and there was a host who sat behind a desk. Angus played a weird masked character called the Enforcer, who didn't speak but would lurk in the background, kind of like the show's mascot. He initially just snuck on, and then the cameras captured him and they couldn't do anything about it. He was a permanent fixture. And I was the film reviewer of the show, so I would come on and talk about film, and we were kind of the two dorks. Everyone else who worked on the show was very cool, and we kind of became friends, and we always wanted to do something together, but we could never find the time, and Angus was always so busy, and then I moved to LA. Finally one day we were like, look, let's just let someone else write it, and we'll make a film together. We don't have to sit in the same room and write. And so we found a friend of ours, Jamie Brown, who's a great writer. He had written a draft of a script called The Mule. We loved the central idea of a human being whose gut is the ticking clock, and we just started going, and then 7 years later, we're finally there, which is why the Q&A resulted. That was 7 years of pent-up frustration and just like, and just sort of getting it all out and having fun. And it was one of the most fun premieres I've been to for one of my films. I think because it was the longest gestation period of any film.
Angus, you play the Mule, so I have to ask, did you go Daniel Day-Lewis on this and do method acting, or how did you prepare for this?
That's a good question. I didn't illegally smuggle drugs into any one country, if that's what you're asking. But I guess all I probably did was maybe not eat as much.
Constipate yourself.
My worry was like, the guy hasn't eaten for 17 days or whatever, and they're like, great, he could have done with losing the weight. Like, I didn't want to.
This was just a very expensive, hard to organise weight loss program for Angus. But he did swallow pellets for real.
Right,
I thought that was a big benefit.
It was marzipan?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, even though it was marzipan, I have to ask, there were some pretty gruesome scenes in there. And I mean, did you freak out at all a little bit before that, doing some of those ingestion scenes? And,
that one was a bit tense because I was okay with it until someone said, like the stunt to me, I was like, okay, we need a safety word. And I was like, what? Like, they're like, if there's a problem, you know, you've got to put up your hand or something, you know, because this, up until that point I was like, yeah, whatever, if I can swallow something. But it certainly changed the mood when the safety supervisor came on set, the stunt coordinator, the nurse, they're all like, yeah.
There was a guy with a waiting body bag. An undertaker was there, just sort of measuring Angus,
just in case,
just showing him different urns, being like, just for.
Just saying.
I've never heard of using a safe word for candy before. I mean, that's a first.
Well, that was. Yeah, I think that was the thing. Like,
well, so ironic that you'd be choking if anything went wrong, so yelling out a safe word. What is it? It sounds like it's not the safe word.
We ended up doing 2 takes of that particular scene that you're referring to, and I swallowed 6, 3 and 3, it was an interesting. It was interesting. It's certainly an interesting. I always envisaged it would just be one shot, but some of them took a long time to get down.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So now you also have Hugo in this movie, who's a phenomenal actor. I mean, did you guys have that in your head from the start? Was he someone you wanted involved, or was that just happened to be casting?
We love Hugo Weaving. We've always been massive fans. Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm a fan of Sunshine as well, and we always wanted to work with him, I think, in the back of our minds, but we didn't have him specifically in mind for that character until we started casting the film and his name came up, and we were like, wow, well, that's obviously out of our league.
Right.
And to our surprise, he said yes. So we couldn't believe it. And Angus was saying earlier that he just lifted the mood of the set. I think that that's something truly great actors can do. Everybody else wants to impress them and or meet them at their game, including us, and it makes you want to be better. And that actually goes for the crew too. I think that a lot of the people on set revere him, and so they would put their best foot forward. So he ended up being a good captain for us, didn't he? Without having to do anything, his very presence sort of marshalled everyone. It was great.
Was it fun kind of getting back to international indie roots on this? Because this is an Australian picture. And I know you guys do some of that, but you've been over here doing some work as well, both of you.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it personally. I loved doing a film in Australia because I haven't done one. And Angus has been an actor in many Australian films, but not on the creative side.
Right.
But for me, having written so many films set in the States, it was fantastic to write dialogue in my native tongue, that I grew up hearing.
So now this is also a period piece. It goes back.
Sorry, Siri wants to...
That's fine. So we can get in later.
Exactly. Do not understand. Hugo weaving.
So completing a call right now.
I think it's dialing my brother.
Oh, nice. Does he want to talk about that?
Yeah, he might have an opinion.
He might have an opinion. But so this is...
You just hear this voice from my pocket go, bullshit, you hate your native tongue. Sorry.
That's fine. Language is okay right now.
Okay, cool. Excellent. Sorry
anyway, so this is a period piece, so you go back to a significant soundtrack, and I just want to ask what kind of music influenced your soundtrack on this movie?
Well, new wave stuff, which I guess, in chatting with our incredible composers, Mikey Young, who's from Eddie Current, Suppression Ring, Total Control, Lace Curtain, he teamed up with a guy named Cornell Wilczek, who has scored a lot of, well, not a lot, but a handful of things. And his most recent work here in the States was the Nowhere Boys, a TV series, so for NBC. So, excuse me. So, in chatting with them, Leigh and I we would write the script to very sort of the Australian equivalent to Journey. Those sort of
popular 80s Australian bands,
right? And we wrote that script, and we were like thinking, yeah, man, we're gonna reintroduce these people, to a whole new audience or whatever. And we went and saw this music guy named Carl Richter, who owns Level 2 Music Publishing, and he said, oh, what about if you had some electronic? It was all electronic music, And Leigh and I was like, oh, that could be interesting. And then, taking from that step, we love the idea of new wave, where you could still hear the fingerprints of these guys. They were interested in something that wasn't. It's just sort of falling in with this thematics of our film, was the guys like Gary Newman and what have you, where they like an alternate world. They're into this sort of Moog stuff or crap. Where they're actually playing with the mechanics of things, but you can still hear the fingerprints of them. We love that, so we use these actual analog synths where you could actually, we really wanted to remove any sort of element of it being too polished, the music. So you can hear the musicians in there, I hope anyway.
You definitely do.
Yeah.
It has a very personality to it.
It's great.
Yeah, did you like
I did the score actually. I really did like the score, going back to the old school kind of stuff.
I hope it becomes available. I really hope that it does become.
It will be. Yeah, we're going to put something out. We're going to put something out, like a 40-minute thing on vinyl, where it'll just be one long, two sides, and it'll just be one long track, but based on that, and we will do a soundtrack on iTunes, but that's something that, again, we're just sort of looking to try and do some intriguing things, I guess, around every opportunity that we can.
That's good. So as writers, is it harder or easier to write a part for yourself? Because you're both actors in the film. So when you're writing a part and you're going like, all right, I'm going to be doing this, is that actually harder or easier?
For me, I don't know any other way.
That's true, right?
I've only
you always
written exactly. No one else is writing. It is kind of strange, but I'm pretty good at compartmentalising the jobs. Like, I can really take the actor's hat off and I'll write and forget that I'm playing, and then suddenly be like, oh, and I'll be on set just like the other actors saying, who wrote this shit? I mean, you can write this, but you can't say it.
Exactly.
And I'm amazed actually when I'm acting in something that I've written, how many times I'll go, I thought that was a good line. Why did I go that?
What was that?
I don't know what it was like for Angus to write Ray, knowing that he was going to play.
I found it hard. I'm not. He's a fantastic writer. This is the first time I've written a feature film, so I found it especially difficult. Writing Hugo's Tom Cross lines, that was no worries. You know, that came easily for me. But when it came to writing Ray, the character I played, I found it easy to write Gavin, but I couldn't write Ray. I just couldn't. I couldn't give Ray anything. The only thing I was trying to get in there was having Ray to get onto chicks. That was the thing that I was pushing for. And so I wrote one where he kisses a girl and Leigh, and so then Leigh would write, oh,
Gavin
she turns into Sonia.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, the beautiful blonde woman turns into a large Thai man.
Yeah.
So is it hard writing for yourself, will ingest 20 condoms full of cocaine? Was that something like, God, what am I doing? Or
I think most of those things that you're talking, Leigh would probably be
You let him
for
do
those.
that.
Like he knows exactly what to give the audience when, you know, whereas I was probably more dialogue-y kind of driven, if you know what I mean. I didn't have any confidence in writing things, and Leigh very patiently would, you know, say, look, no, we can't write 7 pages about Ziggy. We need to, you know, we need to drop the audience in the shit here. And so he would do that, and then I go, okay, cool, what do we do? And he would act it out and I would act back, and it was great fun. It was great, you know, it was one of the, probably my favourite moment, I guess, is we went to all these different beach houses. They just ended up being beach houses. And we would just act out the film, and yeah, it was the first time he collaborated with anybody, so yeah, it was great fun.
It was really great fun. It was. I learned a lot from Angus about writing as well, and his attention to detail with dialogue and character and stuff. And it was fun. I think the best writing collaborations are one where each person's compensating for the other. You know, you sort of fitting together like this rather than, oh, we're both great at dialogue, or
you both have strengths.
Yeah, both have strengths, and we really allowed, you know, each other to go down those paths. And I mean, there's one scene in the film that people really remember that's kind of turns some people's stomachs, and I was so excited last night for that scene.
The audience reaction.
I was like, oh, here it comes. I'm nudging Angus at the back. Because, as he was just saying, I love those scenes in movies. They're like gifts to the audience. It's like you take him through this story and then you just smack him with a sledgehammer. And I couldn't wait. Yeah, exactly. So this was my version of that. Usually I'm known for like the gorier versions of that or something, but this film has one scene that it's pretty hard to watch.
Exactly. So I mean, we're going to go to other projects now really quickly. I mean, you're both coming back for Insidious 3, I'm assuming.
Yes. We'll see some Specs and Tucker.
So are we going to go even harder on the comedy, or is this going to be more of a step back?
I don't know. I've always thought that a little of Specs and Tucker goes a long way. I think that they were always, you know, meant to be side characters. Insidious was great fun because I wrote it and I wasn't even really planning to be in it, and then all of a sudden I was like, well, she has an assistant, and then I was like, well, I'll get Angus involved. How great would that be, like, to have my mate come over from Australia? And so we ended up doing this thing, and it was so fun. And so I kind of wanted to be that. I wouldn't want to. I think it's like chocolate, you know, you eat too much and you're like, oh, shut up. Yeah. You know, one piece is enough. So they will be back, and I would like to do something different with them, you know, a little bit.
I'm curious because each psychic they work with has a special kind of ability. Heather Lynn's has the mask, and then you use the dice in Insidious 2.
Right.
So in your perfect world, what would the next object be that you can kind of toy around with? Or what's the funniest thing you can think of that a psychic can use?
Yeah.
Shoes.
Exactly. It's like how the shoes. Throwing shoes on shoes.
Disappointing. It's right.
Exactly. And they're like, what does that mean? I'm not sure. But it is interesting that that's how they landed.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Something horrible.
What if it was just a guy, a psychic who gets drunk? It was just like, he just drinks the wine back and he's like,
the alcohol.
I'm seeing it clearly. I don't know, that's interesting. You've given me some
something to think about there.
Think about that.
And then again, the other question too is at the end of Insidious 2, I mean, it's been out, everyone's seen it, so I'm not going to spoil anything here, but Lynn sees something at the end of it, so what is it that she sees? Is that something familiar, or is that something completely new that we're going to go on a different tangent with?
I don't think we're going to continue with that for the sequel. Well, I mean, I can't say too much, but I think we're going to go off in a different direction with a new family and not pick up from where the third one left off.
That's interesting. So Patrick, Rose...
Yeah, pick one where the second one left off.
Right.
Yeah, so I think Patrick and Rose have had enough punishment. We need to move on and punish someone new.
That's very fair, I'd say. Sorry, do you have anything to say? Or
no. I think that's probably all Jason Blum would allow me to say.
Yeah.
He's comfortable with me telling people that we're not going to be going with the Lambert family.
I think that's something fresh. That's something good.
Yeah, it was great to write because it was, like writing the first film.
And I'm also curious too. I mean, I was hoping Cooties would play here. I was really
right. That would be awesome.
Did you submit here, or was that something that you just kind of you did Sundance?
We did Sundance, so we submitted to Sundance, and it actually worked out great for me because I love these two festivals, and to have two different films.
Exactly.
And I think the Mule is perfectly suited to South by Southwest, which is sort of a real rock and roll festival. Like the attitude is very music industry. It's not like Sundance is very film industry, and it's Hollywood goes to the snow. Right. And I think for Cooties, that was a great atmosphere for Cooties because we had Elijah Wood and man, the guy from Lost, Jorge. Try walking down the street with that guy. I've never seen people go bananas. I've never experienced anything like it, like the smartphone thing, like just pouring at him and grabbing him, and he was pretty gracious. He said hi to but people were screaming and losing their minds, even more so than with Elijah.
Really?
But
you also have Rainn Wilson. I mean,
Rainn Wilson. So it was good to be at Sundance and experience for a minute this kind of celebrity thing. And I think the Mule is great for this festival because it's kind of a indie film out of Australia with a bit of a sort of rock and roll attitude. So I think it's good for this festival.
Perfect. So I mean, just finishing note. What do you guys want to promote? Honestly, I mean,
promote?
Yeah, go ahead. What do you want to promote? You got free.
What about Chevrolet? I mean,
our friends at Chevrolet.
Our friends at
we are not affiliated with
Pennzoil,
so you know.
Yeah. So the Mule, Angus is wearing. This is actually a limited edition, custom made shirt that Angus had made.
Just for South by.
Just for South by Southwest.
Very nice.
I really liked the poster that we had made for South by, which was hand painted by a guy who works at the company Concept Arts. He painted this beautiful poster. I don't know if you saw it, of a digestive tract.
I think I did see that.
Yeah, and
digestive tract.
That was a great promotion thing.
Is that a good thing you want to just put up on the map?
Yeah, I think anyone who go and Google the Mule poster South by Southwest and you'll see it.
Awesome. Well, guys, you ready for the Mule?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for the interview.
Cheers, bro.